Hi. In this session, we're going to be waking up and tapping into the resilience of our spine. It's a great way to release any of the tension that you might be holding in your neck or anywhere else in your back. It's also a great reminder of the fact that we are built with resilience. And so sometimes when we tap into that and allow it to wake back up and be present in our bodies, it gives us the energy we need to be resilient in other aspects of our lives. Now, this can be done at any time of day. Sometimes it's a great way to relax at the end of the day, but it can also bring you some energy as well. So feel free to play around with how it might work for you and what kind of effects you get. It can also be done sitting or standing. Today I'm going to do it with you standing. So let's go ahead and just start by mobilizing our head and our neck. So just start to wake that up for yourself. Nice and easy though, so no big stretches yet. Just starting to create some movement at the base of the skull where it joins the cervical spine, and then allow that movement to start to move down to a shoulder level. So where the neck starts to meet the upper portion of the back, where the cervical spine starts to meet the thoracic. Then let's go ahead and move it down into that thoracic area. So all of those parts of the spine that meet the rib cage, moving it down a little bit lower, that lower thoracic, then moving it down, mobilizing into the lower back, the lumbar, and then maybe even starting to mobilize through the pelvis, where that lumbar spine starts to connect to the tailbone being the backmost portion of our pelvis. And then go ahead and allow the whole spine to start to move. Just nice and easy, anywhere it wants to go. Starting to feel some of the mobility that we have, maybe spiraling around, maybe arching and contracting, maybe moving into the side space. And then go ahead and let that come to rest. Now let's go ahead and take our hands and start to palpate that tailbone, so that flat surface of the back of your pelvis. And really just take the fingers, tapping around, feeling that triangular surface for yourself, and then go ahead and either take your fists or the heels of your hands and just give a firm press in and down into that sacrum. And then go ahead and release that. And now take your hands and take it up to the base of the skull. You'll feel down at the bottom of the back of the skull, you'll feel the occipital ridge. So the point where it feels almost like the head is hinging on the top of the spine, if you give yourself a nod yes. And then go ahead and take the fingers into that occipital ridge. And if you want to massage a bit, you can, but allow the head to start to mobilize a bit as you begin to really sense the place where the head meets the top of the spine. Now let's release the hands. Allow your right hand to reach behind your back and grab the wrist of the left arm, pulling that arm across to the opposite hip. And then just let it hang out there. Taking the right hand now over the head to the left ear, and then pulling the right ear down towards the right shoulder. Just nice and gentle, getting a little stretch down the side of the neck, breathing into it. And then go ahead and ever so slightly rotate the head to look downward towards the floor. Feeling how the stretch changes. It might have moved into the upper trapezius. Maybe you feel it ever so slightly down into the shoulder blade. And then go ahead and rotate the head so you're looking ever so slightly up towards the ceiling. And again, feeling how the stretch changed. Maybe it moved slightly into the front of the neck, down into the collarbone. And go ahead and center the head one last time. And release those arms, gently taking the head back to center. Now we're going to take the left hand, we're going to reach across the back, grabbing the right wrist and then pulling it to the opposite hip, just letting it hang out there. Once again, this time taking the left hand, reaching over the head to the right ear and pulling the left ear to the left shoulder. Breathing into the stretch. And go ahead, rotating the head to look downward towards the floor. Continuing to breathe into this stretch. Feeling maybe even how it might be different than the other side. And then rotating the head to look up towards the ceiling. Breathing into the stretch. And gently let that go. Taking the head back to center. Go ahead and take the hands. We're going to bring them to the back of the skull, interlacing the fingers. And then just allow the weight of those arms to begin to bring the head forward. Curving forward in your neck, that cervical spine, and just taking a moment here. So from my shoulders down, from my thoracic spine down to my pelvis, my spine is still long and upright. The bowl of my pelvis is still upright. But my neck, my cervical spine, and my head have dipped forward, and I'm feeling a stretch down the back of my neck, down into my back, underneath of my shoulders, down into my ribs. And just breathe into this stretch for yourself. Playing with how much pressure you might need to give to the back of the head. Allowing the shoulders themselves to relax and release. Feeling the shoulder blades draping themselves down the back of the rib cage. And then just gently rotating the head to look ever so slightly to the right. Feeling how the intensity of the stretch may have changed. Continuing to breathe into it. And then rotating the head back, passing through center, turning it to look slightly to the left. Again, continuing to breathe into the stretch. Coaxing those muscles to release a bit. And then taking the head back to center. Now from here, allow the weight of the hands and the arms to continue to begin to pull the spine into this forward curve. Beginning to roll your spine forward and down. And as you do this, if you find any places that feel especially like they need a stretch, especially tense, allow yourself to take a moment there in that position and just breathe into those parts of the back. And then once you feel that they've gotten enough attention, continue to roll down. Again, if there are any places where it feels good to stop, to pause, to breathe into the stretch, allow yourself to do so. And also really feeling that pelvis, the bowl of the pelvis remaining upright as long as possible until the spine has curved so far forward that the arms begin to fall away from the head and the pelvis begins to tilt forward. And now just allow yourself to hang in this forward fold. It's okay if the knees are bent, the legs don't need to be straight. In fact, I encourage you to soften through the hips and the knees and the ankles. Maybe even bounce a little bit in the legs. Allow the spine to just release and bounce as well. Breathe in this little bounce down here. And now we're going to start from the tip of the tailbone. Maybe even take your hands to the tailbone. We're going to feel the tip of the tailbone begin to pull downward behind us towards the floor as it brings that pelvis upright. And then we're going to stack the spine one vertebra at a time, one on top of the other, rolling back up, finding our vertical once again. Now we're going to roll back down, this time without the weight of the hands on the back of the head, just starting from the top of the head, beginning to roll down one vertebra at a time, just melting into a forward curve, allowing yourself to really feel, maybe even visualize that spine as it gently bends forward and over until there's no more vertebrae, feeling then the pelvis begin to tip forward as you move into a forward fold. Again, taking a moment down here in the forward fold, just breathing, allowing the joints of the legs to soften and bend. Maybe give a bounce with the legs and allow the spine to then respond.
And then once more, starting from the tip of the tailbone, pulling that behind you down towards the floor, bringing the pelvis upright, and then stacking the vertebrae one at a time on top of each other as you roll back up, finding vertical once again. Now let's go ahead and take one hand to the back of the skull and the other hand to the tailbone. It can either be the palm of the hand or flip it. The back of the hand can be touching the tailbone so the palm is facing away from you. And I want us to just begin moving the head, allowing that hand that's in contact with it to just give you a little bit of tactile feedback, and then allow the whole spine to begin to move, even down into the tailbone, down into the pelvis. Allowing the hand that's on the tailbone to begin to give you a little bit of tactile feedback down there. So we're feeling our head and our tail and the length of the spine that connects it as we just move and mobilize through different ranges of motion here. The feet can kind of widen underneath of you as you weight shift. You can feel the spine curving from side to side, maybe curving from front to back. Maybe it moves in spirals. Maybe it waves. Allowing yourself to really feel the full mobility of that spine. Taking some time to explore all of the possibilities for your range of motion. And then allow the hands to fall away and continuing to mobilize through the spine, allowing the weight to shift from foot to foot. Maybe initiating movement from the bottom, maybe initiating movement from the top, maybe from the middle. Allowing your breath to respond. And then allowing that to start to come to rest. Gathering your feet back underneath of you one more time, and then just taking a moment to feel the bowl of the pelvis upright as that tailbone lengthens heavy towards the floor. Feeling the spine as it stacks one vertebra on top of the next until it reaches all the way up to the head, sitting on top. And then feeling as if the center of the top of your head has a string tied to it and it is lengthening up towards the ceiling, and the other end ties to the ceiling. Feeling the full length of your spine. Then allow it to gently begin to mobilize a bit more as you go ahead and make your way throughout your day.